At 10:00 on the night of October 22nd, 1707, darkness envelops the HMS Association as the lookout gasps, spotting white water ahead. He rushes to report his sighting to Admiral Sir Cloudesley Shovel. The Admiral, poring over charts and calculations, dismisses the warning, insisting the lookout is mistaken. Just 12 minutes later, the ship strikes the treacherous rocks of the Scilly Isles, sinking in a matter of minutes. 800 men plunge into the cold Atlantic, swallowed by the night. As the clock ticks toward midnight, 3 more ships, HMS Eagle, HMS Romney, and HMS Firebrand, follow their doomed companion to the same fate. A staggering 1,400 men drown that night, including the Admiral himself. They were lost not due to negligence, but because the charts had failed them, a failure rooted in one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of navigation. The British Parliament would later assign a staggering value of £20,000 to this problem, as the finest minds of the 18th century wrestled unsuccessfully with the challenge. Yet the solution would come not from the halls of academia, but from a carpenter's son from Yorkshire, a man without formal training or institutional support. This is the tale of the marine chronometer, a revolution in timekeeping that transformed navigation forever. It's a story of a clock that solved a deadly riddle, but it is also a chronicle of how the right answer emerged from an unlikely source, one the establishment aimed to undermine. John Harrison, the man who built the chronometer, faced relentless opposition for 30 years, despite being undeniably correct. His invention would lay the groundwork for accurately charted coastlines and reliable trade routes, ultimately ushering in the age of exploration. To grasp the significance of the losses suffered by Shovel's fleet, one must understand the navigation skills of sailors in 1707. Latitude, your position north or south of the equator, could be calculated easily. By measuring the sun's highest point in the sky at noon, a competent navigator could determine their latitude in mere minutes with a quadrant. But longitude, the measure of distance east or west, posed a different dilemma entirely. The Earth spins 360 degrees every 24 hours, translating to 15 degrees per hour, or 1 degree every 4 minutes. For sailors, the challenge lay in knowing the precise time at a fixed reference point, such as Greenwich. If they measured the local time, determined by the sun, the difference would reveal their longitude. 1 hour off equated to a 15 degrees difference. However, at sea in 1707, this was not so simple. A reliable clock was essential but non-existent. While clocks on land could keep time steadily, the conditions at sea thwarted them. Pendulum clocks, the most accurate of the era, faltered on the rolling decks of ships. Spring-driven clocks proved erratic, losing or gaining time based on temperature shifts and humidity. A clock losing just 10 seconds a day would accumulate a significant error over a long journey. At the latitude of the English Channel, a mere 5 degrees error could mean drifting approximately 150 miles off course. The navigator aboard Shovel's ship had followed the established methods diligently. He measured latitude accurately and estimated longitude using dead reckoning, tracking speed and direction over time. Yet, this method was not foolproof. The tragic loss of 1,400 men that night was a direct consequence of unresolved navigation challenges. The Scilly disaster of 1707 was not an isolated incident. Navigation errors had claimed fleets before. But this particular catastrophe, in 1714, spurred by the tragedy, the British Parliament enacted the Longitude Act. This established a board of longitude, comprised of esteemed figures, the Astronomer Royal, the First Lord of the Admiralty, and learned scholars from Oxford and Cambridge. Their mission, to award substantial prizes to those who could find a reliable method for determining longitude at sea. The prize amounts were staggering: £10,000 for a method accurate within 60 nautical miles, £15,000 for within 40 nautical miles, and a grand £20,000 for within 30 nautical miles. This last prize, equivalent to about $3 million today, could make a man wealthy for a lifetime. Proposals flooded into the Board of Longitude. Many were from eccentric inventors, while others came from serious scientists with plausible ideas. The proposals generally leaned towards two main approaches. One favored the astronomical method, which relied on measuring the moon's position against fixed stars. This method, known as lunar distance, could theoretically allow navigators to calculate Greenwich time from anywhere at sea, provided they had precise instruments and accurate tables. The astronomical community, which held sway in the board, favored this route, a choice that would have significant. In stark contrast, John Harrison was born on March 24, 1693, in the village of Falby, Yorkshire. He was a carpenter's son who, from a young age, became captivated by clockmaking. Lacking formal training, his skill blossomed through sheer curiosity and a desire to understand mechanisms. His early clocks, constructed primarily from wood, were built with the resources he had at hand. At just 20, he crafted a long case clock that became the village timekeeper, requiring a weekly wind. What set Harrison apart was not merely his mechanical creations, but his thinking. He understood that clocks lost or gained time for specific, identifiable reasons. Temperature affected the pendulum's length, friction altered the escapement's performance. These were engineering problems, not insurmountable mysteries. Harrison sought solutions. He invented a gridiron pendulum, a design using alternating steel and brass rods to counterbalance thermal expansion. He also developed the grasshopper escapement, eliminating them. One by one, he tackled the issues that plagued timekeeping. In 1730, at the age of 37, Harrison journeyed to London to present his innovations to the Board of Longitude. A carpenter's son with no formal education, he was referred to the Astronomer Royal, Edmund Halley, who then introduced him to George Graham, the finest clockmaker in the city. Graham, impressed by Harrison's ideas, offered him an interest-free loan to build a prototype. Over the next 5 years, Harrison dedicated himself to creating H1, his first marine. Completed in 1735, H1 weighed an impressive 75 pounds and stood nearly 4 feet tall. With 2 large interconnected balance wheels that countered the ship's motion, a grasshopper escapement, and a temperature compensation system, it was a groundbreaking invention. In 1736, the Board of Longitude sent H1 on a trial voyage to Lisbon. The results were promising. The ship's navigator utilized the chronometer to refine his longitude estimation, returning 60 miles closer to accuracy than his dead reckoning. The board is cautious, their eyes narrowed in skepticism. More trials are needed. Harrison nods, acknowledging their hesitation. H1 has not yet met the mark. He is determined to create something better. Thus, he builds H2, then H3. The endeavor spans 19 years. H2 unveils complications that H3 is meant to address. Yet H3 too reveals flaws that H2 had concealed. Harrison is not failing. He is learning. With each iteration, the machines grow more precise, yet still lack the accuracy he demands. In 1759, he unveils H4. This creation is unlike its predecessors. Where H1, H2, and H3 were large, cumbersome, and visually intricate, H4 is a mere 5 inches in diameter. It resembles a large pocket watch, weighing only 3 pounds. Inside its sleek form lies a mechanism that encapsulates 2 decades of Harrison's wisdom. It is designed for the navigator's hand. The Board of Longitude greenlights a sea trial in 1761. Harrison's son, William, sails with H4 toward Jamaica and back. The voyage unfolds over 81 days. When they arrive, William compares H4 to the observatory time. Astonishingly, the clock has lost only 5 seconds, 5 seconds over 81 days on a sailing ship. This error translates to a longitude uncertainty of merely 125 minutes, about 14 miles. The standard for the $20,000 prize calls for accuracy within 30 nautical miles, roughly 1,800 times the error H4 has demonstrated. By the standards established by Parliament in 1714, the problem is solved. Yet the Board of Longitude declares one trial insufficient. More evidence is needed. Harrison requests H4's return for further examination and adjustment, but the board refuses. They retain H4 for scrutiny at Greenwich. A watchmaker, not a clockmaker, is appointed to evaluate it and craft copies. The newly appointed Astronomer Royal, Maskelyne, has devoted years to developing the lunar distance method, an astronomical alternative to Harrison's clock. He has also published the first nautical almanac in 1766, containing the lunar distance navigation tables. Maskelyne's dual role as a competitor and judge of Harrison's claim, raises eyebrows. The board sees no conflict in this arrangement. Maskelyne evaluates H4, deeming it insufficiently accurate. In 1764, he conducts a second sea trial using a copy, which underperforms compared to the original. This is no surprise, as the copies crafted by watchmakers lack the original's precision. Harrison appeals. He sends letters, petitions to Parliament, and documents the irregularities he has faced. At 73 years old, he reflects on 40 years of relentless effort, 5 increasingly sophisticated timekeepers, and accuracy that far exceeds the prize's requirements. Yet the board has only awarded him £4,315 in partial payments, all while refusing to grant the prize. In 1772, William seeks an audience with King George III. The king agrees to test Harrison's fifth timekeeper, H5, at his private observatory in Richmond. The trial lasts 10 weeks. H5 loses only a third of a second per day throughout this period. The king's response is clear. He tells Harrison, "By God, Harrison, I will see you righted." In 1773, Parliament passes a special bill, granting Harrison £8,750, not the prize itself, but a recognition of his contribution. The full £20,000 promised in 1714 never reaches the man who solved the very problem it was intended to reward. Harrison passes away on March 24, 1776, on his 83rd birthday. In the decade following his death, the marine chronometer makes its way into the Royal Navy. This shift occurs despite the board's efforts to delay it for 3 decades. Captain James Cook utilizes the K1, a copy of H4, on his second voyage from 1772 to 1775. His charts of the Pacific coastlines from this journey are the most accurate ever produced. For the first time in ocean navigation, the navigator knows his exact position. The features Cook maps in 1773 are placed accurately. His longitude calculations are reliable, producing not mere approximations, but exact measurements. By the early 1800s, every Royal Navy ship carries a marine chronometer. By mid-century, commercial vessels adopt the instrument across major maritime nations. The accurate charts that emerge, detailing longitude and geographical features within the width of a pencil line, revolutionize ocean trade. Navigational routes that once required cautious detours now allow for direct sailing. The decline in shipwreck rates is immediate and significant. While precise figures are hard to isolate from factors like improved ship design and weather understanding, the navigational record remains clear. The coastline's Harrison's chronometer made knowable cease to claim ships at the alarming rates of yore. One can trace the impact of this advancement through the 19th century, the charting of Australia's coast, the establishment of reliable routes to India, and the commercial expansion of the Pacific. The British Empire, fundamentally a maritime enterprise, relies on the ability to move ships, goods, and soldiers across oceans with newfound accuracy. All of it hinges on the chronometer and the coiled spring within Harrison's 5-inch clock. The Board of Longitude's treatment of Harrison has been scrutinized by historians for centuries. Opinions vary. Some see an institution resistant to change, an astronomical establishment loath to accept a mechanical solution. Others view it as rational caution from a body responsible for a substantial prize, hesitant to award it without complete evidence. Some perceive it as professional bias, a reluctance from credentialed scientists to acknowledge a solution from an uncredentialed craftsman. All these aspects likely intertwine. The Harrison case exemplifies the true cost of institutional conservatism. It is not merely theoretical. It is 1,400 men lost on the rocks of Scilly in 1707, before Harrison's work began. It is the sailors who perished along navigable coastlines in the 1740s, 50s, and 60s, as the board conducted further trials and sought more evidence, delaying the award for a solution already at hand. The issue was solvable by 1762, when H4 demonstrated an error of 5 seconds across 81 days. Yet, the question of who would receive credit for the solution, and through which institutional channels occupied those responsible for encouraging solutions for another decade after the resolution existed. Harrison's brilliance was evident in 1762. The board acknowledged it in part in 1773. He died in 1776, never having received the prize set forth by Parliament for the problem he had solved. Today, a precision instrument resides in your pocket. Your smartphone determines its longitude with remarkable accuracy. It does so through a network of satellites that, at their core, utilize the same principle identified by Harrison in 1730. The difference between two precisely measured times reveals your exact location. GPS operates on a planetary scale, a more complex and sophisticated technology, yet the foundational concept remains unchanged. Synchronize time, measure the difference, and ascertain the location. What Harrison created was not merely a clock. It marked humanity's first mastery over time measurement, translating that knowledge into spatial awareness, knowing exactly where one stands on the Earth's surface. Before this, navigation relied on estimation, cautious reckoning, and avoidance of uncertain coastlines. Now, navigators could know with certainty. The Scilly Isles, where HMS Association and 3 other ships foundered on October 22, 1707, remain navigable hazards. They have not shifted. The tide still swells over the same treacherous ledges that claimed Chauvel's fleet. The Atlantic continues to crash against those rocks. What has changed is that every vessel traversing those waters, the ship glides through the water, a silent sentinel of progress. On board, the crew remains unaware of the hidden stories entwined within each wave. The ocean, once a treacherous expanse, now carries whispers of the inventions that transformed humanity's journey. Each brush of saltwater tells of sacrifice and triumph, a testament to resilience. Beneath the surface lies a legacy, waiting to be unveiled as history breathes. The horizon stretches endlessly, inviting exploration. Yet the true essence of history lies not in grand monuments, but in the quiet passage of this vessel. It sails through waters once feared, now tamed, a symbol of what was and what could be. In the depths, echoes of the past linger, urging us to remember the journey that brought us here. The ocean, no longer a killer, becomes a bridge to the future, filled with stories.